Welcome, squad members, to a bonus episode just for you. Today, we're going to be reviewing Splash's Event Led Growth Masterclass. Overall, I really enjoyed the course. I think it's something definitely worth taking and reviewing. I'd give it a solid A, maybe not an A plus, but a good A. It's great. So, there are a few areas that I want to address in more detail before you're getting into the course or considering taking the course. Here's just my thoughts on it. I thought they did a great job going through it. This is a hard topic to cover. There's a lot of pieces to it. At the end of the day, this was a masterclass. It's an ideal state, forward thinking, future thinking. There's a lot of people and players that take to master event led growth. So keep that in mind. Don't be discouraged when you get in there. If you don't have all the pieces to this, it is a lot. And that's why this is a masterclass and not a webinar. Was it worth $250 for 2 hours of non-approved CEU credit? For me, no. I probably wouldn't have paid that price point. There were a lot of discount codes floating around for early signups, so I took advantage of that, which made the price much more reasonable. I think it was around $60 or $70 with the coupon code, the discount code, whatever we want to call it. But again, was it worth $250? I probably wouldn't have paid that. For others, it may have been worth it, especially if work was paying for it. But I think there are still some codes floating around there. So definitely check that out before signing up. I think you can still get a discount. So a few things that I loved and missed about the course. So one of the things I wish they would have gone into more detail was the different event types leveraged at different points in the marketing funnel. They touched on it a little bit, which was really helpful. There was a lot of great graphics around it, but I think they could have done more here. I think there could have been a whole lesson or section of it just on the different events to leverage at different point in the marketing funnel. Now, granted, this doesn't work for every industry or every type of event, but it does have a repeatable process that you could experiment with. And I think there could have been more there. And again, while all the information was super helpful and it was definitely spot on, some of it felt a little bit out of reach. What I mean by that is when they talked about webinars and how they're used as an event during the marketing funnel being cost effective and nearly free, while that may be true for Splash, because at the end of the day, they are a webinar and a digital event platform. So for them, it doesn't cost them anything because they are using their own software. That isn't true for everyone. There are costs associated with hosting a good webinar, and I preface that with good. To have an impactful, a clean look, a really, really nice, well-produced webinar does cost a little bit of money. So I think they were kind of drinking a little bit their own Kool-Aid there with saying that it doesn't cost anything, because that's just not true for most organizations that don't have their own proprietary system. The other place that felt a little out of reach for me when it came to the data and attribution conversation. Now, let me remind you again, this was a master class. It's not necessarily the present state, it's an ideal state. And a lot of groups do not have the sophisticated software or even the players on their teams to do a proper attribution model. In the real world, outside of this ideal masterclass state, uh, this certainly is just not the case. Not everyone has business ops. Not everyone has a marketing ops person. Not everyone has an analytics team they can lean on to do attribution. Now, it does give you something to work towards, which I very, very much appreciate. I'm glad they included this. It's worth the knowledge so that you can start working towards that and knowing what players need to be at the table to do an appropriate event attribution to really be able to measure the impact of the events that they're having on pipeline and brand and all the other areas within an organization. Just in my experience, it's just been really hard to get all those players at the table if you even have them in the first place. So those are a couple of areas that just kind of missed for me and wanted to not necessarily miss, but give you my own thoughts on things to keep in mind before you take the course. I would still recommend it. I think more of the people in the events industry and the event marketing industry need to be talking about this way. We've always known that events are important. We've always known that events have an impact on business and the bottom line. And this is the framework on how we can prove it. Beyond just saying people had a good time or we scanned however many badges, we can actually prove now with frameworks and models like this on why we're doing what we're doing and why the investment into the events are worth it. And as a reminder again, for those that don't have a business ops person or a data analyst or a marketing operations person on staff, or for that matter, even integrations into the CRM, building out what that framework looks like in your CRM, don't be discouraged. There are other ways to accomplish this type of data analysis. There's other tools out there. If you don't have all the players and all the tools at your fingertips, there are still ways to do that. And the last thing is, I caution you when taking this course to not try to do everything they say in there all at once. Break it down into manageable chunks, parse out what they're doing, and do one event at a time. Take it small. Start with maybe just a couple webinars or one big trade show. Break it out, make sure the data is clean and you're confident, and then start adding more and more onto it. If you try to do everything at once, it will definitely feel overwhelming. Getting all the players at the table will feel like a lot, and that's a whole hurdle in itself. So break it down step by step, one event at a time. And I just want to leave you too. There's a couple other resources that I love. One being TAC Insider. It's a GTM community. They go into all kinds of conversation about event-led growth, similar frameworks and models to Splashes. So if you want other resources beyond this masterclass, that's one place to turn. But again, bravo Splash. I love to see it. It's first of its kind course coming out around education on that event-led growth strategy. A. Loved it. Definitely recommend. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did.